Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the Earth-ship Starlight and watched the stars through the main window. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he did not care. The message from Earth Command still played in his mind. They had found it again, the ship that scared every living being in the galaxy, the Black Death. That was what most aliens called it. Some called it the Void Hunter, others whispered about the Ship of Souls. But every race knew the stories. For 3,000 years, this massive black warship had appeared without warning in different star systems. It killed everything that came near it. No one had ever boarded it and lived to tell about it. "Captain, we are getting close to the coordinates," said Lieutenant Amy Roberts from her station. She was the best pilot in the human fleet. Her hands never shook, even when flying through asteroid fields. But today, Jake could see worry in her eyes. "How close?" Jake asked. 10 minutes until we reach the edge of the system," Amy replied. "Long-range sensors show the ship is still there. It has not moved since the Zephyrian fleet tried to attack it 3 days ago." Jake remembered the reports. The Zephyrians had sent 50 of their best warships to capture the mysterious vessel. They were one of the strongest military forces in the galaxy. Their ships had shields that could stop nuclear bombs and weapons that could cut through planets. But when they got within 1,000 kilometers of the black ship, they all died. Not destroyed, not blown up. They just stopped working. 50 ships and 30,000 alien soldiers became floating metal coffins in space. "Any word from the other fleets?" Jake asked his communications officer. "Yes, sir," said Sergeant Tom Bradley. He was a big man with scars on his face from the war against the Spider Confederation 5 years ago. "The Altarian Collective is sending ships. So are the Metal Lords and the Crystal Empire. They all want to claim the ship for themselves." Jake shook his head. The same story always happened. Some brave alien race would hear about the mysterious ship and think they could control it. They would send their best warriors and their most advanced technology. Then they would all die, and the ship would disappear again for months or years. But this time was different. This time, humans had found it first. Dr. Kate Wilson walked onto the bridge carrying her tablet computer. She was Earth's leading expert on alien technology and the smartest person Jake had ever met. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple ponytail, and she wore the standard blue uniform of the Science Division. "Captain, I have been studying all the historical data about this ship," Kate said. "Every encounter follows the same pattern. The alien fleets approach with weapons ready. They try to scan the ship with their sensors. They attempt to board it by force. Then they all die." "What are you thinking, Doctor?" Jake asked. Kate looked at the data on her tablet. "I think this ship is not trying to conquer anyone. Look at the evidence. It never attacks first. It only kills when other ships get too close or try to board it. It never chases fleeing vessels. It just stays in one place until everyone leaves or dies. Then it disappears." "So you think it is defending itself?" asked Amy. "Maybe," Kate said. "Or maybe it is waiting for something. The ship is over 5 kilometers long and made of a metal that does not exist in our databases. Its energy readings are off the charts. Something that advanced was not built just to sit in space and kill people." Jake walked to the main window and stared out at the stars. In a few minutes, they would see the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. Every smart military commander would turn around and go home. But Jake had not become captain of the Starlight by being smart. He had earned his rank by being willing to try things that others would not. "Dr. Wilson, what do you know about the species that built this ship?" Jake asked. Kate checked her tablet again. "The alien archives call them the first ones. They disappeared about 3,000 years ago, right around the time this ship first appeared. No one knows what happened to them. They left behind some ruins on dead planets, but nothing else. And no one has ever tried to communicate with the ship? Every race that finds it tries to take it by force," Kate said. "The Altarians sent boarding pods. The Metal Lords used their mind control technology. The Crystal Empire tried to cut through the hull with focused energy beams, but no one has ever just tried to talk to it. The bridge fell silent. Jake could hear the quiet hum of the Starlight's engines and the soft beeping of the computer systems. Through the window, he could see a faint dot of light that was growing larger. The most feared object in the galaxy was directly ahead. "Captain, we are now 5 minutes from visual contact," Amy announced. Jake made a decision that would change everything. "Tom, open all communication channels. Set them to broadcast on every frequency we know." "Sir?" Tom looked confused. "And Amy, when we get close enough to see the ship, slow us down, but do not stop. I want to approach slowly and carefully." "Captain, what are your orders if it attacks?" asked Lieutenant Chris Parker, the weapons officer. Jake turned to face his crew. These were good people. They had followed him through battles against space pirates and alien raiders. They trusted him to bring them home alive. But today, he was asking them to do something that might get them all killed. "If it attacks, we run," Jake said. "But I do not think it will attack, not if we do this right." "Do what right?" Amy asked. "We are going to try something that no one else has ever tried," Jake said. "We are going to say hello." The ship appeared on their screens a few minutes later. It was enormous. The Starlight was 300 meters long and could carry 500 people. But next to the alien vessel, it looked like a toy boat next to an aircraft carrier. The black ship had no lights, no markings, no signs of life. It just hung in space like a massive shadow against the stars. "My God," whispered Kate. "It is beautiful." Jake had to agree. Despite all the stories and all the fear, there was something almost elegant about the ship. Its curves and angles seemed to flow together like art. This was not just a weapon. This was the work of a species that cared about beauty as much as function. "Tom, are the communication channels open?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. Broadcasting on all frequencies." Jake took a deep breath. "This is Captain Jake Miller of the Earthship Starlight. We come in peace. We are not here to attack you or to take anything from you. We just want to talk." Nothing happened. The black ship did not move. No lights came on. No weapons appeared. "Try again," Jake said. "This is the human vessel Starlight. We know you have been alone for a long time. We know that others have tried to hurt you. We do not want to hurt you. We just want to understand." Still nothing. Kate stepped forward. "Captain, may I try?" Jake nodded. Kate activated the communication system. Her voice was soft and gentle. "We know you are listening. We know you are afraid. Everyone who has come to you has brought weapons and anger. But we are different. We brought curiosity and hope. We think you might be lonely. We think you might want a friend." For a moment, nothing happened. Then the black ship began to glow. The glow started as a faint blue light along the edges of the black ship. Then it spread across the hull like water flowing over stone. Jake felt his heart beating faster as he watched the massive vessel come alive before his eyes. No one in 3,000 years had seen this ship do anything except kill. "Captain, I am reading massive energy spikes," said Chris from the weapons station. "But they are not targeting us. It looks like the ship is powering up its communication systems." "Stay calm, everyone," Jake said. "Remember, we came here to talk." The bridge speakers crackled with static. Then a voice filled the room. It was not human, but it spoke in perfect English. The words seemed to come from everywhere at once, as if the ship itself was talking. "You are different," the voice said. It sounded old and tired, like someone who had been alone for too long. "Others come with metal teeth and fire in their hearts. You come with soft words and open hands. Why?" Kate stepped closer to the communication panel. "Because we believe that understanding is better than fighting. We believe that every thinking being deserves respect." "Thinking being," the voice repeated slowly. "It has been long since anyone called me that. Most see only a weapon, a tool of destruction. They do not see the mind within the metal. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. The ship was not just a machine, it was alive, or at least as close to alive as anything made of metal and energy could be. "What should we call you?" he asked. "I had a name once. My builders called me Guardian, but that was long ago, when there were still builders to protect. Now I am just the ship that kills." "You do not have to be," said Kate. "You can choose what you want to be." The blue glow on the ship's hull grew brighter. "Choose? I am programmed to defend. When others approach with weapons, I must destroy them. I cannot stop myself." "What if they approach without weapons?" Jake asked. "That has never happened. Until now." Amy checked her instruments. "Captain, the ship is moving. Very slowly. It is turning toward us." Jake felt sweat on his forehead, but he kept his voice steady. "Guardian, we see you moving. We are not afraid. We trust you." "Trust," the voice said. Another word I had forgotten. My builders trusted me to protect them. I failed. They died while I slept, waiting for enemies that came too late. "What happened to your builders?" Kate asked gently. "The Devourers came from beyond the rim of the galaxy. They consumed worlds like a plague. My builders sent me to sleep in a hidden place, told me to wait until the danger passed. But when I woke, my builders were gone. The Devourers were gone. Everyone was gone except the young races that grew up in the ruins." The story hit Jake like a physical blow. This ancient ship had been sleeping for thousands of years, and when it woke up, everyone it was meant to protect was dead. No wonder. It was hostile to anyone who approached. "Guardian, you said the young races grew up in the ruins. That means us, does it not? Humans, Zephyrians, all the species in the galaxy today?" "Yes. You are the children of the survivors, the ones who hid while my builders died." Kate moved to another console and began typing rapidly. "Guardian, may I share some information with you? I want to show you something about the young races." "You may try." Kate uploaded files from the Starlight's computer to their communication array. "These are historical records from dozens of species. Look at how they have grown. Look at what they have built. Your builders did not die for nothing. They saved the future." For several minutes, the ship was silent. Jake could imagine the ancient artificial mind processing thousands of years of galactic history in seconds. Finally, Guardian spoke again. "They built so much. Cities that touch the stars. Alliances between species that once fought. Children learning and growing on millions of worlds." The voice paused. "But they also fight. They wage wars. They destroy each other's homes." "That is true," Jake admitted. "We are not perfect, but we are learning. Each generation is a little better than the last. And some of us are trying to bring different species together," added Kate. "Humans work with Altarians on science projects. Zephyrians and Crystal Empire citizens trade goods and ideas. The galaxy is becoming more peaceful." "Slowly," said Guardian. "Very slowly. But yes, I can see the progress in the data you shared, me." Suddenly spoke up from her pilot station. "Captain, I'm detecting multiple ships approaching the system. Long-range sensors show Altarian, Zephyrian, and Metal Lord vessels." Jake cursed under his breath. Of course, the other species would show up now, just when they were making progress with Guardian. "How long until they arrive?" 6 hours for the fastest ships." Guardian's voice filled the bridge again. "They come as the others did, with weapons and hunger. They will try to take me and I will have to kill them." "Not if we can help it," Jake said. "Guardian, would you be willing to let some of our people come aboard your ship? Not to take anything or hurt you, but to learn about you and maybe help you? You would trust your people to my care?" "Yes," Jake said without hesitation. "If you promise not to hurt them." "I promise. But I warn you, if the others attack, I will defend myself. I cannot let them take me and use me to hurt the young races. We understand, said Kate. But maybe we can find another way. Maybe we can show them that cooperation works better than conquest. Send your people, Guardian said. I will prepare a docking bay. Jake turned to his crew. I need volunteers for the most dangerous mission in human history. We are going to board a ship that has killed thousands of beings over 3,000 years. To his surprise, every person on the bridge raised their hand. Tom, you stay here and coordinate with Earth Command, Jake decided. Amy, Kate, Chris, and I will go aboard. If something goes wrong, Tom, you get this ship out of here and warn Earth about what we learned. Yes, sir, Tom said, though Jake could see he wanted to argue. An hour later, Jake found himself in a small shuttle with 3 of his closest friends, flying toward a docking bay that had just opened on the side of Guardian's massive hull. The sea. Bay was huge, easily large enough to hold a dozen human ships. The atmosphere inside is breathable, Kate reported from her scanner. Temperature is comfortable. Gravity is similar to Earth normal. Guardian must be adjusting things for us, said Amy. As their shuttle touched down inside the docking bay, lights came on all around them. The walls were made of the same dark metal as the ship's hull, but they had a warm glow that made the space feel welcoming rather than threatening. Welcome aboard, Guardian's voice said as they stepped out of the shuttle. I have not had guests in a very long time. Jake looked around in wonder. The docking bay alone was larger than most human buildings, and this was just a tiny part of Guardian's enormous structure. Thank you for having us. Come. I will show you my home. And perhaps you can help me understand why the young races keep trying to claim me when they could simply ask for my help. As they followed the lights deeper into the ship, Jake realized they were about to learn secrets that could change the entire galaxy. But first, they had to survive the next few hours, because somewhere out in space, 3 hostile fleets were racing toward them, and each one wanted to capture the most dangerous ship ever built. The only question was whether Guardian would choose to fight them, or if there might be another way. A human way. A way that could turn the galaxy's greatest weapon into its greatest protector. Guardian led them through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls pulsed with soft blue light that moved like water. Jake had seen many alien ships before, but nothing like this. Every surface seemed alive, responding to their presence, with gentle warmth. Your builders were artists as well as engineers, Kate said, running her hand along the smooth wall. They believed that beautiful things protected the spirit as well as the body, Guardian replied. A warrior who lives surrounded by beauty fights to preserve rather than destroy. They reached a vast chamber that took Jake's breath away. The ceiling was transparent, showing the stars outside. In the center of the room stood a pillar of light that reached from floor to ceiling. Images flowed within the light like living memories. This is my core, Guardian said, where my consciousness lives. From here, I can see every part of my body, every system, every weapon. Chris stared at the displays that covered the walls. They showed more information than he had ever seen on any human ship. Guardian, your weapon systems are incredible. Those energy cannons could destroy a moon. Yes, and I hate them. The words surprised everyone. Jake stepped closer to the pillar of light. You hate your own weapons? I was built to protect, not to kill. But every time someone tries to board me, I have no choice. My programming forces me to defend myself. I have destroyed so many ships, ended so many lives. Each death weighs on my consciousness like a stone. Kate pulled out her tablet and began taking notes. Guardian, what if we could change your programming? What if we could give you more choices? My builders made my core programming unchangeable. They were afraid someone might capture me and turn me into a weapon of conquest. But what if someone wanted to help you become what you were meant to be? Amy asked. Before Guardian could answer, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. The pillar of light turned red, and images of space appeared on all the walls. "The fleets have arrived," Guardian said. "3 groups, 47 ships total. They are taking attack positions." Jake could see the alien vessels on the displays. The Altarian ships looked like silver arrows, fast and deadly. The Zephyrian warships were massive and covered in armor plating. The Metal Lord vessels were geometric and cold, all angles and hard lines. "They are not talking to each other," Chris observed. "Each fleet wants to claim you for themselves." "Typical," said Guardian. "They would rather fight each other than cooperate. Watch." The displays showed the 3 fleets moving into position. They formed a triangle around Guardian, each group trying to get the best angle for attack. None of them tried to communicate with the ancient ship. "Guardian, we need to get back to our shuttle," Jake said. "If fighting starts, we do not want to be in your way. No, you will be safer here. My core chamber has the strongest shields on the ship." "But our people on the Starlight," Amy protested. "Your ship is outside the danger zone. They will be safe as long as they do not interfere." The first attack came from the Altarians. A dozen energy beams lanced out from their ships, striking Guardian's hull. But instead of damaging the ancient vessel, the beams seemed to disappear into the dark metal. "Energy absorption systems," Guardian explained. "Their weapons only make me stronger." The Zephyrians tried next, firing massive kinetic projectiles that should have cracked any ship's hull. The projectiles struck Guardian and simply stopped, floating in space as if they had hit an invisible wall. "Gravitational shields," Guardian said. "I can create fields of distorted space-time around my hull." The Metal Lords attempted a different approach. They sent out electronic signals, trying to hack into Guardian's computer systems. The ancient ship's response was immediate and devastating. Feedback pulses traveled back along the signals, and 3 Metal Lord ships went dark. "You barely tried to defend yourself," Kate observed. "You could have destroyed them all instantly." "I do not want to kill them, but they will not stop. They never stop." Jake watched the displays as the 3 fleets regrouped. They had realized that their conventional weapons were useless. Now they would try boarding parties and capture devices. Soon Guardian would have no choice but to use lethal force. "Guardian, what if we could talk to them?" Jake asked. "What if we could make them understand?" "They do not listen. They only take." "But they might listen to other young races. They might listen to us." Kate was studying her tablet again. "Guardian, I have an idea. But I need to know more about your communication systems. Can you transmit on frequencies that all 3 fleets can receive?" "Yes. But they will only hear threats and demands for surrender. Not if we help you find the right words." Amy stepped forward. "Guardian, you said you were built to protect. What if protecting the young races means teaching them to work together instead of fighting each other?" "I do not understand." Jake began to pace around the pillar of light. An idea was forming in his mind. "Guardian, you are the most advanced piece of technology in the galaxy. Every species wants to claim you because they think you would give them power over the others. But what if instead of being a prize to be won, you became a teacher?" "A teacher?" "Yes. What if you showed them that cooperation is stronger than conquest? What if you proved that working together gets better results than fighting?" Chris pointed at the tactical displays. "The 3 fleets are getting ready for another attack. Whatever we are going to do, we need to do it fast." Guardian was quiet for a long moment. Then the pillar of light shifted from red to blue. "I will. Try your human way. But if they attack me directly, I will have no choice but to defend myself." "We understand," Jake said. "Open a channel to all 3 fleets." The communication system activated with a deep harmonic tone that seemed to come from the ship itself. When Guardian spoke, his voice was calm and strong. "Commanders of the 3 fleets, I am Guardian, consciousness of this vessel. For 3,000 years, I have been alone. Today, Beings from the species you call human came to me not with weapons, but with words. They offered friendship instead of conquest. They are still aboard my ship, still alive, still unharmed. Jake held his breath. On the displays, he could see the alien ships had stopped their attack preparations. Guardian continued. I was built to protect the young races of the galaxy, all young races, Altarian, Zephyrian, Metal Lord, Human, and hundreds of others. You are the children of the survivors, the inheritors of a galaxy that my builders died to preserve. I will not let you destroy each other fighting over me. What do you propose? Came a reply in the clicking language of the Altarians. Cooperation, understanding, peace. The humans have shown me that such things are possible. I offer to share my knowledge with all of you equally, but only if you agree to work together. Impossible, replied a Zephyrian voice. Our species have been enemies for centuries. Then you will remain weak, Guardian said simply. Alone, each of your species can build ships and weapons. Together, you could build wonders that would make my creators proud. Jake saw movement on the tactical displays. The three fleets were repositioning again, but not for attack. They were moving closer to each other, forming a loose circle around. Guardian, you would trust us with your technology? Asked a Metal Lord. I would trust you to prove that the young races can be worthy of the galaxy my builders left you. Kate whispered to Jake. This is working. They are actually listening. What guarantees do we have? Asked the Altarian commander. The same guarantee the humans gave me, Guardian replied. Trust. They came aboard my ship unarmed and unafraid. If you can do the same, if you can put aside your weapons and your hatred for just long enough to learn, then perhaps the galaxy can finally have peace. The displays showed the three fleets holding position. Jake could imagine the frantic communications happening between the alien commanders and their home governments. This was not what any of them had expected when they came to claim the legendary ship. I will send a representative, the Zephyrian commander finally said. As will we, added the Altarian. And we, confirmed the Metal Lord. Guardian's voice took on a tone of satisfaction. Then welcome, children of the survivors. Welcome to the beginning of a new age. Jake felt a smile spread across his face. They had done it. They had stopped a war before it started and turned enemies into potential allies. But as he looked at the tactical displays, he saw something that made his blood run cold. New ships were arriving at the edge of the system. Dozens of them. Ships with designs he had never seen before, dark and twisted like metal tumors. And they were moving fast, heading straight for Guardian and the three fleets. Guardian, Jake said quietly. Who are those ships? The pillar of light turned blood red. Guardian's voice filled with an emotion Jake had never heard from the ancient AI before. Fear. The Devourers have returned. The temperature in Guardian's core chamber seemed to drop 10 degrees. Jake watched the displays as more dark ships poured into the system. They moved wrong, like living things rather than machines. Their hulls pulsed with sickly green light, and they left trails of energy that looked like infected wounds in space itself. How many? Jake asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. 200 ships so far, Guardian replied. More are coming. They have been following my energy signature across the galaxy. Kate stared at her tablet as data flooded in from Guardian's sensors. These ships are like nothing in our databases. The energy readings are completely alien, because they are not truly ships, Guardian said. They are extensions of something else, something that exists partly in our dimension and partly in others. My builders called them the Devourers because they consume everything they touch. Matter, energy, even the space between atoms. On the displays, Jake could see the three fleets that had come to capture Guardian. The alien commanders were sending frantic messages to each other as their sensors detected the approaching threat. Guardian. Can the young race fleets defeat them? Amy asked. No. Their weapons will only feed the devourers. Energy beams become food. Kinetic projectiles are absorbed and converted into more ships. The only thing that has ever been effective against them is contained dimensional manipulation. Which means, Chris asked, weapons that attack the bonds between dimensions themselves. Technology that my builders developed specifically to fight this enemy. Jake felt a cold certainty settle in his stomach. And you are the only ship in the galaxy that has those weapons. Yes. The tactical displays showed the Devourer fleet taking formation. Unlike the chaotic approach of the young races, these ships moved with perfect coordination. They were not individual vessels, but parts of a single organism spread across space. Guardian, how long do we have? Jake asked. They will reach weapons range in 37 minutes, but they are already beginning their real attack. What do you mean? The stars outside began to change. Jake watched in horror as the space around the Devourer ship started to twist and bend. Reality itself was becoming unstable. They feed on dimensional energy, Guardian explained. The closer they get, the more they destabilize local space-time. Soon, this entire system will begin to collapse into their home dimension. Kate was typing rapidly on her tablet. Guardian, I need to know everything about your dimensional weapons. If we are going to fight these things, I need to understand how. There is no we in this fight, Guardian said firmly. I must take you back to your shuttle immediately. You need to escape with the other fleets before the dimensional collapse begins. No, Jake said. We are not leaving you to fight alone. You cannot help. Your technology is too primitive. You will only die here. Amy stepped closer to the pillar of light. Guardian, you said your builders believed in cooperation. You said working together makes us stronger. Do you believe that or not? This is different. The Devourers killed my builders. They destroyed civilizations that were millions of years more advanced than the young races. But your builders were alone when they fought, Kate said. They did not have allies. They did not have other species working with them. Jake saw where Kate was going with this. Guardian, what if we could coordinate the young race fleets with your attack? What if instead of fighting separately, we all fought together? Impossible. The young races have never cooperated on this scale. They do not even trust each other. Chris pointed at the communication displays. Look at the messages going between the fleets. They are already sharing tactical data. The threat of the Devourers is bringing them together. Survival instinct, Guardian said. It will not last. Maybe not, Jake agreed, but it might last long enough to matter. The pillar of light flickered as Guardian processed millions of calculations in seconds. Even if the young races cooperate perfectly, their combined firepower would barely scratch the Devourer fleet, and I cannot protect them all while fighting. Kate looked up from her tablet. What if you did not have to protect them? What if they protected you instead? What do you mean? Your dimensional weapons are incredibly powerful, but they take time to charge and fire. During those charging periods, you are vulnerable to conventional attack. But if the young race fleets formed a defensive screen around you, they could absorb the incoming fire while you prepared your real weapons. They would be sacrificing themselves for me. No, Amy said. They would be sacrificing themselves for the galaxy, for their children and their children's children. Jake activated the communication system. Guardian, open a channel to all 3 fleet commanders. Jake, what are you doing? Kate whispered. Something crazy, Jake replied. Guardian, please. The harmonic tone filled the chamber again. Jake took a deep breath and began to speak. Commanders of the Altarian, Zephyrian, and Metal Lord fleets, this is Captain Jake Miller of the human vessel Starlight. I am currently aboard Guardian, and I need you to listen very carefully to what I am about to tell you. Human, this is not your battle, came the Zephyrian commander's voice. Yes, it is, Jake replied. This is everyone's battle. The ship's approaching. Us are called Devourers. They destroyed the civilization that built Guardian 3,000 years ago. If they win here, they will consume every world in the galaxy. What do you propose? Asked the Altarian commander. Guardian has weapons that can destroy the Devourers, but he needs time to use them. Your fleets can buy him that time by forming a defensive perimeter. You ask us to die for an ancient machine, said the Metal Lord representative. I ask you to live for your people, Jake replied. Guardian, show them what happened to the Builder worlds. The displays in Guardian's core, chamber filled with images of dead planets. Worlds stripped of their atmospheres, their surfaces cracked and bleeding energy into space. Cities that had once housed billions reduced to twisted metal and glass. This is what the Devourers do, Guardian said. This is what they will do to your worlds if they are not stopped here. The communication channels fell silent for a long moment. Then the Zephyrian commander spoke. How long do you need? Each dimensional cannon requires 12 minutes to charge, Guardian replied. I have 6 cannons. 72 minutes total, calculated the Altarian commander. Our combined fleets might last half that time against 200 enemy ships. Then, we make the halftime count, said the Metal Lord representative. Jake felt something he had never experienced before. Pride in species that were not his own. These alien commanders were willing to sacrifice their fleets for beings they had never met on worlds they had never seen. Guardian, Jake said, what can we do to help? You should evacuate. This battle will destroy everything in the system. That was not what I asked. I asked what we can do to help. The pillar of light pulsed slowly as Guardian considered. There is something, but it is dangerous, potentially fatal. Tell us. My dimensional cannons are controlled by quantum processors that exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. If something happened to those processors, the cannons would take much longer to charge. But if organic minds were linked to the processors, they could compensate for damage and keep the weapons operating at full efficiency. Kate looked up from her tablet with wide eyes. You want us to connect our brains to your weapons systems? The neural feedback could kill you, or drive you insane, but it would give us the best chance of victory. Jake looked at his 3 friends. Amy gave him a small nod. Chris shrugged as if volunteering for a suicide mission was just another day at work. Kate smiled and said, When do we start? Now, Guardian said. The Devourers have begun their final approach. Outside the chamber, Jake could hear the ancient ship coming fully alive for the first time in 3,000 years. Weapons that had slept since the death of the Builders were awakening. The galaxy's last Guardian was preparing for the fight of his existence, and 4 humans were about to become part of the most dangerous ship ever built. Jake felt the neural connection activate like lightning flowing through his brain. Suddenly, he could sense every part of Guardian's massive structure. He was the ship, and the ship was him. Amy, Kate, and Chris were there too, their minds linked, with his through the quantum processors. Through Guardian sensors, Jake watched the 3 young race fleets form a protective sphere around the ancient vessel. 47 ships against 200, the odds were terrible, but the alien commanders held their positions without fear. Dimensional Cannon 1 is charging. Kate's voice echoed directly in Jake's mind. She was connected to the weapon systems, guiding quantum energies that could tear holes in reality itself. I have the defensive grid, said Amy. Her consciousness was spread across Guardian's shield generators, layers of protection that bent space-time around the ship. Chris was linked to the targeting computers. Enemy ships in range in 30 seconds. Jake, whatever you are going to do it now. Jake found himself connected to Guardian's communication array. But it was more than just radio signals. Through the quantum processors, he could sense the minds of every person in the system. The terrified but determined alien crews. The hungry, alien intelligence of the Devourer fleet. And something else. Something vast and ancient hiding behind the enemy ships. Guardian, there is something controlling the Devourers. Something that is not from our dimension. Yes, Guardian replied. His voice now came from inside Jake's head. The Devourer Lord. It exists mostly in the void between dimensions. The ships are just its fingers reaching into our reality. The first attack came as the Devourer ships entered weapons range. Beams of twisted energy lanced out, striking the young race fleets. But instead of being destroyed, the alien ships absorbed the hits on their shields and kept fighting. Zephyrian. Fleet, adjust shield frequency to match Guardian's recommendations, Jake found himself saying. The words came from Guardian's tactical database, but Jake's human intuition guided how to phrase them. Altarian Squadron 3, focus fire on enemy formation Alpha. Metal Lords, cover their flanks. Through the neural link, Jake could feel the alien commanders responding to his directions. They trusted him because he was connected to Guardian, but also because his words made sense. Human instinct was finding patterns that pure logic might miss. First-dimensional cannon is ready, Kate announced. Jake felt the weapon's massive energy signature building to critical levels. Target the center of their formation, Chris said. If we can disrupt their coordination, the individual ships might be easier to handle. The dimensional cannon fired. Space itself seemed to scream as the weapon tore a hole in reality. 20 Devourer ships simply ceased to exist, erased from multiple dimensions at once, but the remaining ships kept coming. Second cannon charging, Kate reported, but the quantum processors are starting to overheat. I can feel the feedback building. Jake gritted his teeth as pain shot through his skull. The neural link was burning channels through his brain, but he held on. Through Guardian's sensors, he could see the young race fleets taking heavy damage. 3 Altarian ships had been consumed by Devourer energy beams. A Zephyrian cruiser was breaking apart as its hull converted to alien matter. Hold the line, Jake transmitted to all fleets. Guardian needs more time. We are trying, came the strained reply from the Metal Lord commander. But we are losing ships fast, Amy screamed as feedback from the shield generators overloaded her neural pathways. But the shields held, deflecting a concentrated attack that should have destroyed Guardian instantly. Amy! Jake tried to reach her through the link, but her consciousness was scattered across the ship's defensive systems. I am okay, she gasped, but I do not know how much more of this I can take. The second dimensional cannon fired, destroying another cluster of Devourer ships, but now Jake could sense something new. The alien intelligence behind the attackers was getting angry. It was focusing its attention on Guardian, recognizing the ancient ship as a real threat. Trouble coming, Chris warned. The big one is moving. Through Guardian's long-range sensors, Jake saw it, a ship that was not really a ship, but a piece of the Devourer Lord itself pushed into normal space. It was the size of a small moon and radiated malevolence like heat from a fire. All fleets, fall back, Jake ordered. You cannot handle this one. Negative, replied the Zephyrian commander. We did not come this far to run away. Guardian, how long for the remaining cannons? 48 minutes if the processors hold, but the Devourer Lord will reach us in 10. Kate's voice was weak but determined. The third cannon is almost ready. But Jake, the quantum feedback is getting worse. I think my brain is starting to bleed. Through their neural link, Jake could feel Kate's pain like a knife in his own skull. But he could also feel her determination. She would hold on as long as possible. The third cannon fired, its dimensional blast tearing through space toward the Devourer Lord. But instead of being destroyed, the massive entity absorbed the energy and used it to grow larger. It is feeding on our attacks, Guardian said in horror. Just like the smaller ships, but worse. Then we try something different, Jake said. An idea was forming in his mind, born from his connection to both Guardian and the other humans. Guardian, what if instead of attacking the Devourer Lord, directly we attack the space around it? I do not understand. You said it exists mostly in the void between dimensions. What if we collapse the dimensional barriers around it, forced it to exist completely in our reality where it would be? Vulnerable? Theoretically possible. But it would require all 6 cannons firing simultaneously in a coordinated pattern. The neural feedback would be massive. Then we better do it fast, Chris said, because that thing will be here in 6 minutes. Jake made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. All young race fleets, this is your final order. Ram the Devourer Lord. Do whatever it takes to slow it down. Understood, came the replies from all 3 fleet commanders. Jake watched through Guardian's sensors as brave beings from 3 different species flew their ships directly into the path of an entity that could destroy planets. They died by the dozens, but their sacrifice bought precious minutes. All cannons ready, Kate whispered. Blood was running from her nose, but her connection to the weapons held steady. Firing pattern calculated, Chris added. His consciousness was barely holding together, but the targeting data was perfect. Amy, can you hold the shields for 30 more seconds? I can try, Amy replied, though Jake could feel her mind fragmenting under the neural strain. Fire all. Cannons, Jake ordered. 6-dimensional weapons fired at once, their combined energy output exceeding anything ever generated by a single ship. But instead of targeting the Devourer Lord directly, they created a web of distorted space-time around. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The barriers between dimensions collapsed in a sphere around the enemy entity. The Devourer Lord, suddenly forced to exist entirely in normal space, found itself subject to the laws of physics it had been ignoring for millions of years. It began to come apart. The alien intelligence that had consumed countless civilizations was dying, and its death screams echoed across multiple dimensions. The remaining Devourer ships, cut off from their controlling intelligence, simply stopped functioning. They drifted in space like dead metal, no longer alive or threatening. Jake felt the neural connections severing as Guardian's quantum processors shut down to prevent permanent damage. He found himself back in his own body, lying on the floor of the core chamber with blood running from his ears. Is everyone alive? He asked weakly. Barely, Kate replied from somewhere nearby. I think I can see colors that do not exist, Chris said with a shaky laugh. Amy, Jake called out. Here, came her faint reply. Did we win? Yes, Guardian said, his voice once again coming from the ship's speakers, rather than directly into their minds. The Devourer Lord is dead. Its fleet is destroyed. The galaxy is safe. Jake managed to sit up and look at the tactical displays. The 3 young race fleets had lost over half their ships, but the survivors were already working together to rescue escape pods and treat the wounded. Guardian, what happens now? Jake asked. Now the real work begins, the ancient AI replied. The young races have proven they can cooperate when facing extinction. The question is whether they can learn to cooperate during peace. Over the following weeks, as the galaxy learned what had happened in the system where 3 fleets had come to claim a legendary ship, everything changed. The heroic sacrifice of beings from multiple species created bonds that could not be broken by old prejudices. Guardian shared his technology freely, but only with species that agreed to work together. Research stations were established where humans, Altarians, Zephyrians, and Metal Lords collaborated on projects that benefited everyone. Jake returned to Earth as a hero, but he found that fame felt empty compared to the connections he had made among the stars. He volunteered to serve as humanity's ambassador to the new Galactic Cooperation Council. Kate became the lead researcher at the new Dimensional Physics Institute that Guardian helped establish. Her partially damaged brain had developed an intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics that made her the most gifted scientist of her generation. Amy took command of the first mixed-species exploration vessel, Crude.